Cheat codes are about as old as the video game industry itself. At first, they were bugs or developer tricks that allowed the player to access stuff that they weren't supposed to. Codes that let a developer test various parts of the game without having to play through the entire thing, for example. They were closely guarded secrets that moved by word of mouth, but it wasn't too long before the folks who made the games realized that cheat codes gave them a great opportunity to make the game more interesting. And with stuff like the Konami code, the golden age of cheats was born. These days, cheats have largely been replaced by mods and DLC. But Ensemble Studios, the developers behind my favorite real-time strategy games, the Age of Empires series, knew their way around some cheat codes. Every game from that series is filled with some of the most entertaining cheats I've ever come across. I went back to review them and compiled this helpful list of the 5 cheats you have to try from Age of Empires. Long before BioShock taught everyone that Big Daddies were the diving bell-wearing, rivet-shooting, drill-armed monsters from your nightmares, I knew Big Daddies as these guys. There are a few cheats in Age of Empires that create units, from a sci-fi bipedal mech that shoots lasers to a nuke trooper who can shoot missiles pretty much all the way across the map. But my favorite has always been the guy with a rocket launcher driving a convertible. I like the Big Daddy better than the Big Mama because even though he shoots slower, he does a lot more damage, and just one can clean out an enemy base in pretty short order. And for those who couldn't tell, that car is totally a Chevy Camaro, probably a 95 or a 96, which does date the game just ever so slightly. There are a lot of cheats in this game that modify your existing units to varying degrees of usefulness. This one is actually pretty handy, since it means you don't have to build any dedicated siege units. Flying Dutchman will allow all of your catapult triremes and juggernauts to sail over land like it ain't no thing. The added bonus of this is that these things, with the right research, move a good click faster than catapults do on land. So you build one siege unit that can be used everywhere, and that moves decently fast. If that only applied to all ships, you could get away with just building a navy and calling it a day. This is another modification cheat, and while it's less useful than the Flying Dutchman or a Big Daddy, it's probably my favorite. Typing Dark Rain into the chat will turn all of your composite bowmen into supernatural ninjas. When they fight, they're still just composite bowmen, but when they move, they can walk on water, and when they're standing still, they're trees. Seriously, if you tell these boys to stand ground and hold their fire, enemy troops will walk right past them. It's also pretty nice to, on occasion, accidentally discover an extra soldier when you command a villager to cut down a tree. And planting groves in the middle of a lake looks understandably hilarious. In terms of unit modification, this one is pretty mild as it's completely cosmetic. But it does bring a nice sense of the macabre to any game, and I can appreciate that. Jack Be Nimble will make it so that instead of shooting rocks, your catapults will launch villagers at enemy structures, which was a perfectly valid strategy during a siege in medieval periods, but does absolutely nothing useful in this game. It just looks funny if you've got a sick sense of humor like I do. Now, if that last cheat was kind of useless, this one is totally useless. There are birds in the game. They just kind of circle overhead constantly, casting little shadows on the ground as they fly. They don't do anything, they're just there. But if you type King Arthur into the chat box, they turn into dragons. I should note that this only applies to the Rise of Rome expansion pack, but there it is. You can play every game with dragons periodically flying over whatever is going on, ignoring it all, just flapping along completely unconcerned with the doings of the puny humans below them. And also casting bird-sized shadows, because it was 1997. Things were simpler back then. Those are the 5 best cheats from Age of Empires. Let us know if you remember any of those in the comments, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and follow the links in the description below to keep up with all of our great content. We'll see you next time.